All right, we're back right here on Around Midnight with the local boys. I'm Joe Carbonetta. I've got Chevelle Devine, or CJ Devine, or Chump, depending on who you're talking to.
And I got Todd Fluker, my sister for that.
Manning the internet. See, that's gonna stick like Rocket Man. Chump and Rocket Man.
Give big ups to Jarshima for that.
Yeah.
Jarsh, shut up.
You're trying to start a war now, aren't you? You really are. But that's okay, because I'd like to have her call back in anyway.
You can't just have a made-up name and get mad at people for mispronouncing it.
A made-up name? Well, isn't everybody's name technically made up? I'm not sure where you're going with that.
Your face is made up.
Everything is like arbitrary, isn't it? I mean, just because there's a million Todds in the world, somebody had to sort of make that up.
Yeah, and there's pretty much just the one way to pronounce it.
I mean, it's a good thing that they didn't
Apparently
use the name.
not. I remember the.
There's things you can append.
Well, no, somebody could mispronounce it as Toad.
And I think that was pretty intentional.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a good thing that nobody ever got named Dotard,
Yeah, you're Dotard now.
Dotard. There we go. All right. So we were talking about Rocket Man and Trump just before the break, and so the next question, the obvious question that this brings up, is there's a senator, by the way, who's gone on record now as saying that it's time to end this, and we shouldn't wait to see if Kim Jong-un actually means what he says about, bringing fire and whatever to the U.S., that we should just nuke him now.
Wait, wasn't that Trump that was threatening fire and fury?
Well, they're both lobbing the same thing, that, we're gonna pay in some horrific way that the world's never seen or something like that. Obviously, they're allusions to Kim Jong-un firing some kind of nuclear weapon onto the United States of America.
Anybody who wants to see the U.S. crumble and die should just leave it alone. We're doing a pretty darn good job on our own.
That's really hard to argue.
Just leave us to our own devices.
Give us a couple of months. We'll be done.
But so the question is, at this point, is this senator on the right track? And his name escapes me at the moment. But do we strike first at this point? Because he just keeps going and going and going. He's like the Energizer Bunny. He just doesn't know when to quit.
I think the problem with both of these people, Trump and Kim Jong-un,
just call him Rocket Man, because I kind of like that one.
Okay. I don't know if I could do that. Both of them are they're gluttons for attention, and they're both megalomaniacs. So...
I can't believe I'm going to say this, because I'm usually the one that's bashing you for being the
Trump apologist.
But I'm not so sure in this instance that Trump is actually being a megalomaniac.
I don't know if I can just let that ride.
Okay.
Because for all the drama you give me, it's very interesting to me now that he's taking a stand that you would all of a sudden, oh no, he's a pretty good guy.
I didn't say he was a pretty good guy.
I think he might be okay.
Don't twist my words. I did not say that at all. I'm saying on this particular issue, he might not be so far off. I also, however, do not believe that he's coming to these conclusions all by himself. I think he's actually sitting there and listening to the military leaders.
Man, either he's doing it all on his own because he's a megalomaniac, or he's not doing it all on his own because he's not a megalomaniac.
Didn't I just say that I didn't think he was being a megalomaniac on this? See, you're the one that's not paying attention here. I don't think he's actually coming up with all this on his own. I think he's listening to the military personnel, the generals that are suggesting that, maybe it's time to actually do something.
I don't know that's first off, you got to have advisors. Any smart leader knows that. Any smart person knows you got to take advice from some people, but you got to be careful of the people you take advice from. If you surround yourself by a bunch of people with hammers, they're going to tell you every time a problem comes up to whack it.
Yeah.
And that's what a general's going to do. He's got a military that's job is basically babysitting in the Middle East right now.
Okay,
but let me love to be able to drop some of that stuff on somebody.
Let me play devil's advocate for a minute, because we've had how many presidencies and over how many years that we've tried to play the politics game with first Kim Jong-il and now Kim Jong-un, and look at where it has landed us.
It's because we're not serious. And honestly, a lot of it has to do with the fact that America cannot be taken as seriously as a threat it could, say, back in the 80s when you had the Cold War going on, because we stretched ourselves so thin, and everybody knows that. Anybody who tunes into American television can see that we are clearly out of touch with the world. And anybody from any other country will tell you that. Most Americans don't speak more than one language. Most Americans have no idea where North Korea probably even is.
And to that I say, who put a man on the moon?
Well, I don't know.
I
That
know.
depends
You
on
don't
if you
even
think
believe-
the soundstage in
Yeah,
Utah is the
yeah,
moon.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I don't
see,
know how you do a
you and
multi-camera
I-
shoot on the moon.
You and I are going to agree to disagree
I
on
don't
that
know.
one.
I see Scorsese's reflection in the window over there. I'm like, I
yeah.
don't know.
Uh-huh.
I don't know, man. I don't
Okay.
know.
All right. Well,
Why haven't we gone back? I mean, if we were smart, we'd have put missiles up there and we'd just said, the moon attacked North Korea. I don't know what happened.
Well, you know what? They started talking about things like that during the Cold War, and that's why it never happened, because both sides would have missiles up there right now, and we'd all be in a world of hurt. We probably wouldn't
both
be
sides
here
do
right
have
now.
missiles in outer space right now.
Exactly.
It,
And again, I say that I think the only thing holding us back from doing something to Kim Jong-un right now is not China, it's Putin over in Russia.
I don't think it's Putin. I think China is a bigger problem than Russia.
I don't see China doing anything like that. Okay,
it's kind of that old adage.
Let's look at
I mean,
if the
it's
dollar
not the
talks,
enemy you know that's the problem. It's the enemy you don't know
But
that's
if-
the
if
problem.
the-
And China is that enemy.
If the dollar talks, all right, the reason that China has been reluctant to really put its foot down on North Korea in the first place is because they are such an economic power in terms of the amount of trade that they do with China. If we wipe out North
Korea
Korea,
is not China's largest trade partner.
no, they're not. We are. So if we
here's the
wipe
thing.
out North Korea, which is part of their revenue stream right there, do you
such
really
a
think they're going to
small
take
part.
out the other part of their revenue stream
It's such a
by doing
small
something
part.
to us?
China practically owns most of America at this point.
So again, another reason why they're probably not going to do anything to
No,
us.
that would be a reason why we wouldn't do anything.
No,
It's
I
got
don't-
nothing
I
to
don't
do with
think
us
we're worried
attacking
about
them.
China.
We won't. Oh, you don't think so?
No, I really don't. I think
might wanna
Putin
reevaluate
is
that.
the threat.
Putin is. I'm not saying Putin is not a threat. I'm saying I don't think he's a bigger threat than China.
See, Putin, in my opinion, Putin is just like Kim Jong-un, only smarter, because Putin doesn't mouth off. He just sits back and waits for somebody else to do something stupid so he has a reason to get involved.
Well, that's because Putin actually has a pretty big hammer. He doesn't have to talk a whole lot.
Yeah.
Kim Jong-il's got a couple of little hammers, and he feels like he's got to scream and shout and bark. And again, North Korea is surrounded by enemies, with the exception of China, which I wouldn't say is a friend, but they're not a hostile enemy.
I think it's a hammer and a sickle.
That was the USSR, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. They don't exist anymore.
You don't think they still have that sickle?
Actually, no, because Putin does go back a ways.
Yeah, yeah.
So he probably does have it. It's
Well,
like America's version of the
So
Confederate
you don't
flag.
think we should strike first, huh?
No, I don't think we should strike first.
Okay. What about you, Todd? You've been completely quiet on this except for the sickle reference.
I don't know. I was just looking at an article talking about the case for preemptive defense. And
There's no
isn't
such
that
thing.
like such a misnomer? Yeah. Preemptive
It's an
defense?
oxymoron. It's an
There is
oxymoron.
no
is what
such
you're-
thing.
Preemptive defense.
Here is the caveat I will put on that.
Okay.
There is no way we can do something like that unless we're prepared to do the same thing we did and overextend ourselves. Because ever since World War II, America has been footing the bill for the planet. And if we do that in North Korea, we have to go into North Korea
I
and
don't
occupy
see
it.
how. No, see, that's the thing. That's where you're wrong.
That
if
is
we
not where I'm
turn
wrong.
if we turn North Korea into a sheet of glass, nobody can occupy it. It doesn't. There's
But you're sitting here saying that like all of a sudden there's just this dome over North Korea and nobody else is affected by that. When you have a nuclear reactor blow up like Fukushima, we're having the effects of it over here in the U.S.
Well, according, and
according to people who want it to be okay to blow stuff up.
I don't
That's
know
what
about
you're
the
about to
sources, but
say.
according to the people who say it's okay to blow something up, they can do it without adversely affecting.
Okay, let me see if
South
I can
Korea.
translate what you said.
Okay.
4 out of 5 bomb manufacturers agree that it's okay to go ahead and do this.
That could be. That might very well be.
Not a good idea.
Oh,
Not a good
okay.
idea.
All right. So CJ is definitely against. I'm starting to lean on 4, and Todd really hasn't committed one way or the other.
Yeah, France.
I think it's Sweden.
Yeah, whatever.
France are the ones that just gave up.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
They're like, oh, you're going to nuke us? We surrender.
Yeah, the French are like, yeah, I like kimchi.
Oh man, this is.
Can we put some butter on that?
Too rough for me.